This is YouTube News. Prepare to pull the trigger on these oversold stocks, Cramer. Wall Street is nearly oversold and investors should get ready to load up on names that can withstand the threat of higher tariffs. CNBC and #X27's Jim Cramer said Monday. And quote, today, the market turned against everything but the soft goods stocks. That kind of move tends to only last for 3 days, and this was day 2, end quote, the unquote, Mad Money unquote host said. End quote, tomorrow day 3 by the end of the day, the buyers usually start circling back to stocks with no Chinese exposure. Think Fong, Facebook, Amazon, Netflix and Google and #X27's Alphabet. End quote. After another day of extreme selling, the Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 2.38%. S&P 500 tumbled 2.41%. Nasdaq Composite retreated 3.41%. Cramer argued it should be safe to start buying among the rubble on Tuesday. The best picks may be in the managed care, insurance and telecommunication spaces. End quote. Of course, there are other issues. Most of the upcoming wave of IPOs will be curbed by the collapse of the Uber deal, end quote, he said. End quote, short term, that and #X27's a bummer. Long term, it and #X27's fantastic because the last thing we need right now is more stock supply, end quote. Cramer has a hold call on semiconductor stocks because their business with Apple could take a hit based on the iPhone maker, and #X27's exposure to China. Starbucks and Nike could also face boycotts in China, he added. Apple and #X27's stock took 2 haymakers on Monday after China took aim at U.S. imports, and the U.S. Supreme Court allowed an antitrust lawsuit against the tech giant to progress. The stock dropped 5.8% during the session. End quote. Apple could obviously feel some pain if the Chinese go for a boycott against its products. Although given that they make so much of their stuff in China, that would be like cutting off your nose to spite your face, end quote, Cramer said. End quote. But who knows? An iPhone boycott would be a lot more effective than tariffs on trout, eels, or, of course, American-made pasta, end quote. In the face of similar trade tensions, Caterpillar fell 4.6% Monday, and Boeing slumped 4.9%. China plans to retaliate against President Donald Trump and #X27's decision to hike Chinese tariffs with its own 25% duties on $60 billion of American goods effective June 1. The list of affected goods primarily covers produce from American farmers, whom Cramer expects will get bailout checks from the Trump administration. Those goods could also be sold off to other countries, he added. End quote. Either way, you don't and #X27's need to worry about agriculture as it and #X27's the most heavily subsidized industry in America, end quote, Cramer said. End quote. We treat our farmers like China treats its manufacturers. We prop them up and protect them against foreign competition, end quote. Cramer pointed out the tariff increase on American goods also includes DVRs, televisions, cameras and gloves, all of which he wrote off as, end quote, funny, end quote, end quote. Our manufacturing base for that stuff was wiped out ages ago. China in particularly already destroyed the American glove industry, end quote. He said. Cramer called China and #X27's list of targeted industries, end quote, pretty pathetic, end quote. The thing is, most investors and #X27 seem to realize that our trade war with China and #X27 have much in common with past trade wars, end quote. He said. End quote. Why? Because we simply don't and #X27 sell that much stuff to the Chinese. Why? And #X27 cause they won and #X27 let us, end quote. Trump wants to pressure American firms to move manufacturing operations out of China, which is scaring investors, Cramer noted. That and #X27 forced them to put their money behind companies that do well in a recession, he added. But Trump has more ammo in the escalating trade war. He is considering slapping another 25% tariff on $300 billion worth of additional Chinese goods. Cramer expects Trump to put additional duties on the books within the next 6 months and force companies to pay for doing business in China. End quote. At that point, China will be out of American exports to tax, but they and #X27 VE threatened to start selling their hoard of more than $1 trillion in U.S. treasuries, end quote, he said. End quote, I say go right ahead. With treasury yields plummeting here, you could price hundreds of billions of dollars of treasuries right now. Arguably, they and hashtag X27, DB doing us a favor, end quote. As the United States and China volley tariff increases back and forth, Cramer said most company earnings will not be hurt. End quote, so get ready. It and hashtag X27, has been a wild ride, but we and hashtag X27, almost in oversold territory and there in hashtag X27, not much more China can to do hurt our economy, end quote, he said. End quote, even as it sure could hurt the stock market, because their moves inspire panic like no other country, and hashtag X27, business, end quote, disclosure, Cramer and hashtag X27, charitable trust owns shares of Facebook, Apple, Alphabet, and Amazon.com. Questions for Cramer? Call Cramer, 1-800-743 CNBC. Want to take a deep dive into Cramer and hashtag X27's world? Hit him up. Jim Cramer. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Questions, comments, suggestions for the end quote, Mad Money end quote, website. Madcap@cnbc.com. YouTube News.